Our special guest tonight is the winningest coach in Philippine Basketball Association history with 17 championships under his belt, including 3 straight with the Sanmig Coffee Super Mixers. Welcome to the Solar Sports Desk. It is an honor to have you here, Coach Tim Cone.
Thank you very much. I'm amazed to be here, actually. Thank you.
Coach, let's go back to game number 4. For the 3 quarters, every time the camera would focus on you, it looked like you were thinking some bad thoughts.
I was thinking Game 5. I was trying to figure out how we're going to win Game 5. Most of that Game 4. So the players had, I had quit on that game a lot earlier than the players had, and I remember walking into halftime and screaming my lungs out and saying we ought to be ashamed of ourselves. And then I walked out, and then I came back in, and I said, hey guys, if you want to just focus on Game 5, that's okay with me. We'll just put this one away and conserve some energy and play Game 5. And they all went, no.
It worked.
Yeah, and I said, okay, well, I'm not going to get off the bench anymore. I'm tired of yelling and screaming. I did all that first half. It's on you guys now. Okay. So they went out and they didn't quit on the game. And really, honestly, I was ready to pull guys out and say, let's get ready for Game 5.
How do you overcome that sense of discouragement when you have just 1 point halfway through the first quarter, and then you go all the way to the 4th quarter, and all of a sudden you win another championship?
It was, those things happen. It's happened against me in my career, and early leads are always artificial leads. You don't really worry about leads, unless it gets extended out to 24 or 25. But if you get a 17, 18-point lead in the first quarter, you don't really have that much panic because you know that they're artificial. They got off really well. You do that in any sport. You play tennis, you get off to a bad start. Mm-hmm. People, it starts to even out. You play golf, the first few holes are bad. There's always bad starts. So there wasn't really that sense of panic, but there was a sense that, we need to play better. And we had to have the sense that this was really happening, and we couldn't ignore that it was happening. We couldn't pretend like it wasn't happening. And that's what I said to the players during the timeout when we were down 17-1. I said, you can't pretend that this isn't happening.
It's here.
You got to face it and turn into it and decide what you want to do.
In that particular game, James didn't do much. James Yap didn't do much in the first couple quarters, and all of a sudden, when it mattered most, surprise in the 4th quarter, in the payoff period, he kind of became big game James.
10 points.
Were you surprised at all in his performance?
Not at all. I've had that experience with Jojo Lastimosa, actually, early in my career. He was a guy that would just, he'll kill me for saying this, but he was a guy, and he really does kill, he really does get angry, but he was a guy that would do nothing for 3 quarters and then just explode in the 4th quarter every time. And he got the moniker of fourth quarter man.
Yeah.
And I think that's a function a lot of our system because it is equal opportunity, and the ball will gravitate to the hot guy. And James has received a lot of criticism since I came to the team, and it's been really unfair.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is because the coaches before me really ran the offense through James. Mm-hmm. Everything was run through James. In fact, you do staggered screens for James, pick and roll for James, and it was kind of like early in my career when we had JoJo, and it was like JoJo and the 11 Little Indians. We just JoJo would touch the ball every time before we scored, and that was before we started running the triangle. And so when I implemented the triangle, the ball was not going through him all the time.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to go through everybody. And so it's more equal opportunity. And so he's not going to have those nights where he's going to have, 30, 40 shots a night, which he would have in the past.
Yeah.
And people say, well, you're not getting the same numbers, James. You're not being the same player you are. But like I said, he will remind you many times of who he is at certain stages of the game. And usually it's the 4th quarter. And he's special. He's a special player.
But how long did it take for him to buy into that system, where the triangle, where you do have to
pass the ball,
pass the ball around and, give basically or attack what the defense gives you?
Well, buy-in is an interesting word. I mean, I think he bought in right away, but the adjustment he had to make was really difficult. I mean, it's like I'm used to being set up, and now I have to set myself up. Yeah. In other words, I've got to move within the offense to get open when, in fact, people used to come over and get me open. And it's a different philosophy, and it's kind of alien to a lot of players, especially superstars. Mm-hmm. And if you read the old talks of Michael Jordan, he went through the same thing. And then Kobe was the guy that banged his head against the wall trying to figure this thing out for a while, but it finally came around for him, and he understands that he doesn't have to be the man every night, and I think that's a big load off his shoulders because James ultimately likes to win.
Yeah. And it's not just James who did work in the fourth quarter. You sat out a couple of your starters as well, which surprised people because you actually went to Alex Malyari and a couple of other guys, and you won this championship with your bench as well. And that says a lot about your faith and your trust in your players and how you actually train with them at practice.
Well, it's funny because I'm not really a coach that does that very often.
Yeah.
I'm really a guy that relies on my starters, and they're going to usually start the game and they're going to finish the game, and we do that on a regular basis. But when you are in the playoffs, you don't coach the playoffs the same way you coach the eliminations. It's just a different thing. There's a more immediacy there, and you're going to do what it takes to win. And the players understand that. When you're going through the eliminations, chemistry is very important. There's a certain hierarchy in the team, and there's a certain respect that certain players have to have, and they garner that throughout the whole eliminations. But when it comes down to winning time, they all understand we're going to do whatever it takes to win. And at that point, Alex Malyari was defending extremely well, and I think that down the stretch, I'll usually go with defenders if I really, really want to win a basketball game. And I thought that was winnable. It looked winnable to us, and so we really went for it. So Alex was there. Ian had played some really good minutes earlier, and there was somebody else down there. I can't remember who it was, but there was somebody else that was playing that was, I guess, people were a little bit surprised at.
All right.
Before we went to the gap, we were talking about your many championships. I mean, your latest championship at least, and a lot of people were talking about how before you got to the finals, you were already tired. You were already playing series after series, and then you were facing Talk and Text, who went unbeaten the entire conference, and they were just sitting there waiting for you guys to get to the finals.
Well, yeah, we were fatigued. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but it's one thing that we just really try not to use that as an excuse. It's not something we talk about. We try to throw it away. And I thought, that's just a tremendous credit to Talk and Text. I mean, imagine being undefeated all the way through. But I think it also kind of hurt them a little bit because they really didn't have any adversity throughout the whole conference. Mm-hmm. And we were really up and down. We got tested by Air 21. We got tested. Probably the biggest test for us was getting by Alaska, my former team, in the quarterfinals. It was really a hard series for us. So when Talk and Text got in there, I thought the game one was really the key. We had to do well in game one. I felt if we didn't win game one, we'd get swept by them. Yeah. And we happened to come out and play a really good game one, and that kind of gave us the confidence that, yeah, we could do this, we can beat them, and maybe create a little doubt in their minds. And so I thought game was really, really key for us.
Now, Coach, 17 championships. Do you remember all 17 and the feeling it was when the final buzzer sounded of that particular conference, of that series? Do you remember those 17 moments in your life?
I think so. I always compare the championships with like your kids. Your children. They're all different, and they're all they all have their distinct personalities, but you love them all, and you all love them in different ways. But you do love them all, and that's the way I feel about the championships. I've had some great ones through the Alaska years, and great moments with Fredo Itensu and Waki Trillo during that time, and then the Denzel Bowles one with the 2 free throws, and the first one with B-Meg. A lot of memorable ones, and but I don't think I forget any of them. And you never tire of them, for sure.
For sure.
They get one, you want more.
So do you have a trophy room, a trophy closet, a trophy house?
That's nice. No, I don't. Actually, I don't have any of the championship trophies. They're all with the company.
Yeah,
so, but we got pictures in my den, and my wife posts up, championship pictures. We got some with my kids that are really, really young, and some when they got older, because they all try to get in there on the pictures. And but it's nice.
Now, through the years, you as the head coach, you've had some assistant coaches that have risen and have now developed into being, great coaches on their own. Of course, Coach Chot is one of the people that probably comes to mind when we're thinking about somebody who came from under the guidance of Coach Tim Cohn. What are your thoughts on how Coach Chot is today? I mean, we're talking about the national team coach who brought the Philippines back.
Right.
To the world stage.
Well, be honest that Chot is going to say no. But to be honest, I think Chot's the best coach in the country. I really do. And I'm not saying that with being humble. I really do feel he is the best coach. He has a way of connecting with his players. He has a way of bringing a bunch of different talents and making them play together. And I look and I watch and see some of the stuff he does, and I get real jealous of some of the stuff he does. And he and I are real close. Our wives are partners in business, and so we see each other a lot. And it's funny because when he's talking text and I'm Sam Mig or Alaska, we never talk basketball. I mean, it's like really bow on it, And then as soon as he gets to be with national team, we see each other. That's all we talk about is basketball. 'Cause we're no longer rivals anymore. Yeah. But he's special. I think the thing that I like about that is that he was my assistant, and we kind of learned the triangle together in the beginning. Mm-hmm. He left during the early years of the triangle, but the thing that we always talked about was coaching to your personality. Learning to coach to your personality. What attracts you, and then going for it. And Chot and I are very different coaches. Yeah. I mean, we're like polar opposites, but there's a fundamental or a foundational thing that we believe in terms of attention to detail, how you treat players and such. That it's very similar. But when we get on the floor, he's really up and down, and I'm really deliberate. And it's funny because I met Chot playing basketball, and the first time I met him, he had four brothers. We used to play in a village in Das Marinas. Yeah. And his white team starting lineup was all 5 of his brothers, and no one was over 5'8". All 5 of them. And we would play them, and all they do was pressure. And and I'd be the point guard of our team, and I was 6 feet or 5. But I was taller than everybody, and I was the point guard. And
you were taller than their center.
Yeah, and they would pressure, and they'd kill everybody because they would just pressure. So that's really Chot's personality, how he grew up, and that's the way he sees the game, and I see the game completely differently. But there's a foundational similarity that we have to the game that we grew together and learned.
And you also have had some great assistant coaches, and Coach Luigi, Coach Banal also, who have also succeeded in the Philippine Basketball Association.
I think Del Rosario, that he didn't succeed in PBA, but he was just absolutely dominant in the UAAP. He's one of my favorite assistant coaches. Just want to throw his name out there. Okay. I really like Otter.
There's one particular former player that joined you in your coaching staff as well, who is now in the headlines.
Yeah.
Because he's going to coach Barangay Ginebra. Mm-hmm. Well, he's coaching Barangay Ginebra this conference, and of course with Jeffrey Carriazo, who is just known to be one of the nicest guys on and off the court. Yeah. And he can honestly say also that he learned so much from you. And now, how does it feel that another one of your players who you actually took under your wing as well as an assistant coach is now going to be the head coach in one of your rival teams.
Well, yeah. I mean, eventually we're going to be rivals, you know. Yeah. And he was just kidding me at the championship dinner. He says, "Coach, you're still going to take my calls, right? Still going to answer the phone, right?" And but you're right. He is one of the nicest guys around. He's very relational, and I think that's one of the things that really Ginebra is going to learn from him more than anything. You know, they're going to see that he believes in the idea of chemistry and getting guys to work together, and that's going to be, I think, his I want to say his real strength and what he's going to bring to that basketball team and why they're going to be successful with him. I just think he's going to need a little bit of patience to allow that, because chemistry doesn't happen right away. You know, husband and wife, first time you live together, it's like, whoa, who are you? I didn't know you were like this. And you have to really work. And that's how I compare it with the players. I say, you know, it's like a husband and wife relationship. Chemistry just doesn't happen. You have to really work at it. And he will get these guys to work at it. And that's what's going to make them go to the next level. But there are certain pressures that the Ginebra coach has that the rest of us don't. And that's because of the fan support, the social media, and that's what he's going to have to handle, I think, most of all. But he's a very calm guy, and but he carries a big stick. I mean, he's not going to let them go out and do whatever they want. He's going to be disciplined with them, but he is very calm and very trusting, and he's going to promote that.